Hey Ted, how you doing?
Hey Tony, how you doing?
I'm all right. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm a big fan of following your site and learning even more about Greece every single day. Thanks for doing
Thank
that.
you. No, likewise, man. Um, so yeah, look, I've been obviously wanting to get this done for some time, but obviously we both have really busy schedules. So finally found a chance to get this done. So I'm super excited. A big fan of obviously what you've been doing. And yeah, let's just jump right into this. For my followers that don't know, why don't we just start off right off the top? Why don't you tell us who is Ted?
Yeah, I mean, I was born here in the United States, Silver Spring, Maryland, a little bit outside DC. Grew up here, went to public high school, University of Maryland. My parents both from Greece. My dad is from Peloponneso, right outside Tripoli, Little Chorio. My mother is Cypriot. She came over during the crisis, so she was officially a refugee. She comes from the Famagusta area. They met here. I got two brothers, little sister. I got a 15-month-old son named Yanni after my father.
It's awesome.
Um,
Congrats.
yeah, I'm married. My wife is from Colombia, the country of Colombia. So we enjoy traveling there a lot. And, we started Cava. I was waiting tables back in 2006. I was about 27 years old. I guess that puts my age out there. I'm about 43 today. And so we started with one little idea. We were waiters at the time, and we wanted to do a Greek restaurant that was very different than what you see out in the world. Back then you saw a lot of like kind of blue and white and Mykonos style restaurants. And not to say those were bad. We just wanted to do something different that showcased a little bit more of the modernity of Greek cuisine. And it was a little tiny place, cost us about $40,000 to build. We did it all by hand. The three of us have two partners, Chef Dimitri and Ike, who we built the place by hand. We bought everything from the dollar store. It was really, really cheap build out, and we focused on food, which is a big part of the Greek culture. We focus on hospitality, an even bigger part of the Greek culture. And from there, we opened a second, third, fourth, and eventually, we're up to today about a just a we had full service restaurants, and then we eventually opened this kind of like fast casual version. So we got about 165 of those today. So that's
Oh,
pretty much it in a nutshell. I'm sure there's a lot to break down in there. The
yeah, no, for sure. Um, Growing up as a Greek American was getting into the food business something you always thought you would have done, or your parents may have thought the same, or no?
So I got lots of family members in the food business, like every Greek American, right? I have
Right.
my mom was a waitress at my aunt's restaurant, and I have an uncle in the restaurant, two uncles in the restaurant business. So I grew up in it. My mom would take me with her to work. She had me at a young age. She was 18 years old, and so when I was a little bit old, when I was old enough for her to take me there and actually help wash dishes and bus tables, and I spent a lot of time in restaurants as a young kid, and I just grew up loving it. I grew up, working side by side with with people who had so much fun in the restaurant industry. For anyone who's worked in it, right? It's such an exciting place to work when you're a young kid, and I just love making people smile and making people happy. Watching guests come in and see that food on their plate, and it just made them so happy, and I just wanted to keep doing that. So I really enjoyed the business.
So you said you started Cove about 11 years ago.
Yeah, the original Cava was 2006, so it was actually 15 years ago that we
15 years.
started the first ever Cava,
What was the
which was
difference between the original and what's now?
so the original was called Cava Meze, and we still have three of those locations. We do basically all mezevachia, so you do paidachia, lamb chops. We do scallops. We do the traditional Greek dips of tzatziki, hummus. We Melizzano salata, tiro kafteri. We do just spanakopita, things like that. All small plates meant to be shared. We have a full bar, full service. And around 2010, we had three full service restaurants. We wanted to do something to get our culture out and our food out to the masses, right? It's really hard for people to afford 25, 30, 35, $40 a person. So we wanted to find a way that we could serve this quality Greek cuisine, which, you know, at the time was known for gyros, right? And it's like everybody knows
Right.
like a gyro, right? It's like,
Right.
and it's like there's so much more this country has to offer. And so we figured out a way to take that same kind of quality food that our chefs would make, that my partner would make, and figure out a way to serve it in this new format, which is very Chipotle like for people that know that.
Right.
And you kind of go down the line and build it, but we braised our lamb in house. We made our lamb meatballs in house. We made our beef meatballs in house. We made everything from scratch, all our dips and spreads, and we still do probably 95% of that today. And you kind of just go down the line, you build your bowl, and at that point we were about $8.50 or $9. So we could get Greek food out to the masses in the kind of quality that it should be. Not that I don't love a gyro, right? I'm a huge
Right.
fan of
Right.
gyro, and but I just think we have so much more to offer than that, right? You see other cuisines like Italy and France, and their cuisines, you know, really stand up and something that they're very proud of. And I think Greek people are so proud of their food and their heritage, and there weren't many places shining a light on that, and so we really wanted to be able to do that.
Awesome. Yeah, you mentioned how it's got the feel of walking through a Chipotle, and that was the first thing I thought of the first time I ever came to a Cava. I was actually introduced to Cava with my sister one day. Said, "Hey, I just ordered some Uber a delivery. Can you go pick it up?"
Yeah.
This is a couple years ago, and I'm like, "Yeah, just tell me where." She said Cava, and I wasn't sure at the time because there's two different Cavas here. There's one with a K, one with a C. So she goes, "The one at Legacy Place." So I went over there and I brought them all back, and we're eating. It was just like an eye-opening experience. I'm like, this is amazing. This is what we needed. Chipotle, but Greek food.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was pretty cool.
It's funny. We caught the moniker Greek Chipotle from such a, you know, even like our first and second restaurants, like people just stuck us with that label of the Greek Chipotle. And like, you know, I think we differ in Chipotle in different ways. You know, I like Chipotle. I ate at Chipotle and I think it's great food. And I think Greek food is just naturally healthier. It's better for you, you know, and we all know about the Mediterranean diet. And, you know, we go a little bit outside of the Greek world. We dip into that whole kind of Mediterranean, Levant region. We go into different spices, and we have pickles that, you know, that come from like Israel, Lebanon area. And we have spices like sumac and Aleppo that, you know, kind of just help infuse those traditional Greek foods and really help them stand up as Mediterranean as a whole. And it's a place where we believe that taste and health, you know, intersect, right? And it's something that is hard to find, healthy food and tasty food at the same time. And so it's something that we thought would really stand up, and it's proven over time, you know, that people really enjoy that. So we're really proud of that.
Sure. Now, I want to talk about, you mentioned that you have two partners in this. Are these friends that you grew up with?
Yeah. We grew up playing Goya basketball. For anyone that knows what Goya basketball is, it,
Sure
you
do.
know, part of the church leagues. And we all met in church. We all went to Sunday school, and, you know, we all worked in the restaurant business together. We were waiters at pizza joints and different restaurants. And we always wanted to do this kind of Greek restaurant ourselves. You know, I ended up dropping out of college. I didn't finish. I did about 3 years there. Dimitri dropped out of high school actually to go to culinary school. And Ike, who finished college, is our accountant. So he's the only guy we trust with the money, right? Because he actually finished school. So, you know, we worked during the nights, and we waited tables at nights, and we used that money to build the restaurant. You know, there wasn't like a big loan we got or big investments that we got. We worked at night. We made $100. We used that to buy wood to build tables. We built all our tables from scratch. We built all our chairs. We bought all our chairs from like Target, like I said earlier, everything from the dollar store. Our families helped us build it, as you know. My dad's a contractor. He works in construction. Ike's father also, and we just busted our ass to do that first restaurant. And, you know, of course, to have this kind of success, we got lucky along the way. When we decided we were kind of like running out of money, and we were doing a catering for the church, and we literally had no money, and the church was paying us for this catering, and it was like kind of keeping us afloat. So we bought a couple raffle tickets at the church, and I actually won a brand new Jeep Wrangler at the Greek church raffle, right? And so we went to the dealership, we picked it up. It was the nicest car I had ever had, and we drove the car around, and we the same day we picked it up, we drove it to CarMax and we cashed it in for like
I knew that was coming. I
$21,000.
knew that was coming.
And the funny part of that story is that the priest calls me like a few days later, and he's like, "Hey Ted, what happened to the Jeep?" And I was like, "What do you mean? What happened to the Jeep?" He's like, "Well, it's customary. Whoever wins the Jeep donates it back to the church." And I was like, "Oh no!" I was like, "I don't think you guys are getting the Jeep back." But Father Dimitri, who's the priest at our church, he's such a nice and thoughtful guy, and he was like, "You do what you have to do to create a successful business. I'm sure you'll find a way to give back to the church." And still every year we donate a lot to the church, and we donate to the festival every year. So I think they've made out on the better end of that. So
definitely. No, that's really impressive to be able to do something with friends, because just from experience or things I've seen along the ways where when friends and family try working together, it's not easy. Like they can step onto each other's toes. There can be fallouts. There could be families breaking up. How did you guys manage to, I'm sure there's been some disagreements, but how do you guys manage to avoid all that stuff?
We have a lot of trust in each other and each of our skill sets. Dimitri's in the kitchen, and I help lead that culinary with him. And so he'll make stuff, and I can give him feedback. I do all the in-store designs, and we still have other full service restaurants besides just our Cava grill. So we have a place called Julie, which is like a French restaurant that's inspired by Greek Mediterranean spices. And then we also do a high-end Greek restaurant called Melina, which is really high-end modern Greek food. And so and we work with talented chefs. So, and then Ike, of course, takes care of the finances. So everybody has their role and their job. And of course, like you said, we've had disagreements and even arguments and close to physical arguments, physical altercations. Yeah. But I would say 15 years, and I think we've had maybe like one physical altercation isn't too bad, especially considering we're all hot-headed Greeks, right? Right. No, we just, everybody knew their role from the beginning, and we've all kind of stayed in those roles. And we brought on a fourth partner who is the CEO of our company, and we really trusted him. His name is Brett, and we really trusted his knowledge and his understanding of business, and to really help grow the business while we focused on things that we were great at, which is like the food and the design and things like that. So
yeah, no, that's key. If everyone knows their role, stays in their lane, I think it'll be all right. Like LeVar Ball once said, stay in your lane. Yeah.
Not many people stay in their lane these days. So.
No, not at all. Not at all. So how many Cavas right now exist?
So we have 3 full service ones that I talked about, and then we have 165 of the fast casual ones, and they are and when we say fast casual, it's like the Greek Chipotles, right? Yeah. And they're all the ways north as Boston, New York, and down in the DMV, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, down into Georgia, and then curling around to like Nashville, Texas, and out to the West Coast. We just did Arizona. We have Oklahoma, Colorado, California. So we're almost everywhere in the country. There are some big cities that we're still hoping to grow in. We have plans to open a bunch of stores this year. And so we hope to kind of fill in the rest of the country this year.
That's amazing. So with more stores, how do you guys handle quality control and things like that?
We have an amazing team that works for us. I mean, people always give us all the credit, right, as founders and the people who started it all, but there are so many great people, a lot smarter than I am, working on this company. And we have operations teams, we have development teams who build the stores, we have technology teams, we have marketing teams, we have food safety teams, and all these teams are made up of many people. We have probably over 300 corporate team members, and we have over 10,000 team members today. So there's systems in place and processes in place, and of course there are growing pains as you grow, right? To say that we're absolutely perfect would be a lie. So we learn from those mistakes and we continue to build on them. So there's a lot of great people working for us. I want to make sure that I give them as much credit as possible. So
for those that haven't come to Cava yet and they're going to walk in one day for their first time, what are they ordering? What should they be ordering?
I'm always biased here because I am Greek and I grew up Greek, and my parents are immigrants from there, and I speak it, read and write it, and I'm fluent in it. And of course, what comes with that is obviously the innate ability to always order lamb and eat lamb, right? And so I always recommend the lamb. We have delicious lamb meatballs that I love. They're spicy lamb meatballs. They're my favorite thing there. They literally, to me, are the best thing that Cava has. And I think it separates us from other fast casuals. A lot of restaurants you see are, they'll have chicken, they got steak, they got beef meatballs, but it's very hard to find lamb somewhere, right? You don't just walk into like a Chipotle or a Sweet Green or any kind of business like that and find lamb on the menu. And we do it two different ways. We do it ground in a spicy lamb meatball, and we also do it braised. So we actually sous vide the lamb. Sous vide is a technique where you cook in a bag in water over a long period of time, which evenly cooks the meat and keeps it really tender and juicy. And then we shred that lamb, and then we serve it as a braised shredded lamb. So that's my favorite. I mean, I build the bowl many different ways. We have different rices, we have lentils, so many different toppings. We do unlimited toppings, which is another way we stand out. And then our dips and spreads, which is tzatziki, and our what we call crazy feta, which is feta with jalapenos in it, right? Spicy feta, like, so you can build it any which way, but the constant in my bowl is always the lamb. So
awesome. Yeah, I was just gonna actually get to the dips now. Tell me about the signature dips. So you just talked about the crazy feta. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah, that's what it's called. It's actually trademarked. So we actually own that mark. We were messing around in the kitchen one day, and Tito Cafeteria naturally has these kind of red peppers in, and we didn't really have them, and we tried it with jalapenos, and we're like, wow, that's amazing, right? And so we created this thing called Crazy Feta, and because we were talking about it in the kitchen, and it was like someone had just mentioned the word crazy about the idea, and it just kind of stuck, and it grew into a trademark and one of our flagship dips. We had our first restaurants, we served these dips and spreads, and then people loved them so much they were coming in and buying, like, they were ordering like these big buckets. Like, we couldn't keep up with making this stuff, and they're like, you should sell this in the grocery store. And so we went out and we went to our first grocery store, which was Roots Market, and we started selling it. And then we did a Whole Foods, and then a second Whole Foods, and we would basically run the restaurant at nights, and then we'd close, and around between midnight and 4 a.m. we'd stay in that kitchen all night making dips and spreads. We'd hand package these things. We'd put the plastic seal on top, and we took blow dryers and we'd melt the plastic seal, and then we put them in coolers and deliver to the store. And then we were back at it, opening the restaurant the next morning. Those are a brutal stretch of like 6-7 years there of grinding and living in the kitchen in the restaurant. So
that's amazing. I love that. I want to just shift real quick to social media, and how has social media in today's world helped Cava? And before I let you even start talking, I'm one of the biggest fans of whoever's running your Twitter account. Just want to throw that out there if they're listening.
We have a great marketing team, and the marketing team is a big department, and there's different people working on Instagram, on Twitter, and they're quirky responses, and they're all over it, right? They got quick, witty responses, which I love, and they respond to me sometimes in there. And so they do a great job. They do a great job working with the branding team that creates, the fonts that we use, all the way down to the colors we're allowed to use, and how our food is photographed. And so there's all these, we talked about how you open restaurants. It's the same thing with marketing. You have all these processes in place that say, this is how Cava is portrayed in the world. And, social media has been a game changer. We had our first restaurant. We didn't have social media, right? We had just one little restaurant, and our social media was free drinks and free dessert, right? And that usually brought people back and let people know, it's coming. Free mastica shots, free ouzo shots, whatever we can do to get people back. So social media allows that reach to people that would normally never find you, right? And you know how that is. If you can put content out there that people want to follow, and you're able to reach parts of the world that you would have never thought to reach. So
it's insane what the social media has done in that way.
Yeah. It's changed the world. Some for good, some for bad, but I think mostly for good. So
no, definitely. If you use it in the right way, it's definitely good. I want to talk a little bit about you as the entrepreneur. What inspires you every day to do what you do?
I mean, I said it earlier, for me, my core is hospitality, and I love making people happy. I really enjoy it. I remember even waiting tables when I worked for other restaurants, and you work in the restaurant industry long enough, it sometimes will make people bitter, right? That work in there, right? And so I remember some waiters, we worked at an Italian restaurant together, and they'd come over and they'd be like, "Oh my God, this guy's such a pain in the ass on table whatever two, and like I can't take him. He's driving me nuts." And I'd be like, "Let me go over there. I love it, like." And I just love going over there and like it's killing people with kindness and like finding a way to make them smile because you never know what people are going through, right? You
Mhm.
get so many people walking through our doors, like they could have just been let go, they could have had an accident, they could have had a family member die. Like you don't know what people are going through, and so it's our job to always try to make them happy. And of course, we have things that we also go through, right? And so like we have to overcome that to make those people happy. So I just really enjoy that. I love talking to people. I love introducing them to my culture, to Greek food, like and I love the fact that when we started our first business, we could take care of people in a better way. We have people who've been working for us for 15 years. We have people making six figures working in a kitchen. We have healthcare. We have pet healthcare. We went to an hourly wage of $13.50 in areas where the minimum wage was $7.25, right? Because
Yeah.
we knew you're not going to survive on 7.25. So it's not just making customers happy, it's making our team members happy. We work with farmers to help them grow. We buy olive oil and olives from a friend of mine who had a small, not a small, but he had a large area of land of olives and olive oil, and he was always selling his stuff to Italian companies, and they were basically, just robbing him blind. And we've helped him grow. He recently built a $3 million facility in Greece, which is amazing, right? And so it's just great to see people grow with whatever we're doing, whether they work for us or they work with us or customers who are learning about Greek food. It's just I'm in awe of it every single day. So
What advice would you give someone that wants to get into the food industry?
I usually have my running joke is like, don't do it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I it's hard for me to give advice because like I don't know. I didn't have like one single plan or one single step. Like it was like I want to open a restaurant. So I started working in one and I worked in a different one and I learned as much as I could at each job and I did the best I could in each place. And I treated all those places like they were my own. And I think that helped me grow to when I got to the point where I was an owner of my own place. And you can't give up, right? We always know that when you hear anybody who's successful, their advice is always the same in reality. It's like, don't give up. Because there were days that you want to give up. There's days where
Mhm.
you didn't make money. There's days when we opened up our second restaurant, we went almost broke. We had to foreclose on our homes. We had to move back in with our parents, and like here I was with like two restaurants, lines out the door. We were named Restaurateurs of the Year. We had, so many accolades. I was in newspapers and magazines. And here I was moving my stuff into my parents' house, right? And so like you can't give up because you never know what's next. We didn't have the plan to say we're going to do 165 restaurants. We set out to do one, and one turned to two, and we went slow. We weren't in a rush. We made
Yeah.
sure things were right, and you make sure you're doing things the right way and you're treating people right. Um, that's really the only advice I can give. And you have to love what you're doing. If you hate it, you should stop and do something else because if you want to be an entrepreneur, right? I know
Right, right.
it's really the only thing that you can do is just keep working, keep hustling, and never give up.
I know you touched on this a little bit earlier, but I want to ask it again. Is being an entrepreneur something you grew up knowing you were going to be doing?
No, not at all. I mean,
Okay.
I grew up obviously, my dad would take me to work and he worked in construction and my mom would drag me to the restaurants, which I love. But when my dad took me to work, it was hot outside. There was never air conditioned. Everybody who's worked construction knows he'd have me move piles of wood around with like nails in them and dust everywhere. And I just remember thinking to myself, I was like, man, I got to do something. So I definitely don't want to do construction. So I got to figure out something that I love to do that I can really focus on. And I love the restaurant business. And we went into it to open one restaurant. Like we love the business. We wanted to do one Greek restaurant where we could showcase the way that Greek people eat. We could showcase our culture, our heritage. We could treat people better in a business where people are treated like crap, And
Right.
so that's what our intent was, just have one restaurant and enjoy our lives and kind of cruise through. And then it turned into two, and then it turned into 165. So Yeah, I didn't have this planned, so we it really just kind of all happened organically.
What have you enjoyed the most of building Cava from day one till today?
Wow. I mean, I think I enjoy those moments. What I enjoy is watching people grow, watching someone who joins our team as, washing dishes or prep and then moves up into culinary lead and, learning how to cook, and then someone who's like a general manager in training, and then eventually a general manager and then an area leader. I mean, you watch the growth of people, and it's really amazing in an industry that was always challenged and always difficult, right? Because you didn't have the kind of benefits needed. You didn't have, healthcare. You didn't have 401ks, and being able to give people that and give them something to look forward to achieving in a business that's been historically rough and hard on people, right? And so I think, to me, I love it because I grew up in this industry, right? And my way out was just starting my own business. There wasn't like this
Right.
path to success, right? We have a corporate side now, of course, and there is a path to success and growing, but it's on the ground level and in the stores, right? Being able to create that for team members that, again, wash dishes and cut cucumbers and mix hummus, and getting them up to a place where they start to understand P&Ls and they start to understand the business themselves. And some stay with us and grow, and some move on and do their own things. And I'm happy for all those different successes that they have, right? And it's something that makes you proud, almost like a proud parent, right?
Right. How do you define success?
I get that question a lot, and the other question I get is like, how do you know, like, are you so happy that you've made it? And I was like, well, where's the line of where you've made it or what
Right.
success is, right? Everybody, it's like, okay, if I had one restaurant, I would have considered that successful. Now I have 165. So would that one have been considered a failure now?
Right.
Like, I don't know. I mean, I think for me, success is, again, like being able to watch other people grow. Our business is growing. I enjoy what I'm doing. I really love it. So to me, I'm having success because I enjoy waking up every day and going into work and doing this job. So whether I was making $1 or $100, whatever it is, I'm happy doing it. So to me, that's successful. But I think the guy, I forget it, Elon Musk is successful, right? He created Tesla. I'm nowhere near that, right? So does that mean I'm failing? I don't think so. I think I like I said, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing, and that makes me happy. So I feel like I'm successful, and there's room to grow. And so like I love the opportunity to have that growth for me, for our team members, for everyone in our company, and that makes me happy. So
Amazing. Let's talk a little bit about Greece. We'll come back to Cava in a bit, but I want to talk a little bit about Greece. So I know you said earlier, where are your origins in Greece?
So my father's from Peloponneso, which is from Tripoli, which is southern part of Greece, right in the center. I'm sure you know it. Just for anybody watching, it's a little village outside called Theoktisto. It's probably like 15-minute ride from Tripoli, near Levidi, if anybody's been there. And then my mother is from Cyprus. A lot of family still there. Left during the divide of the country there with the Turkish invasion. So and we get back every year. I love it. I mean, I spent 3 weeks last year in Peloponneso, right near Nafplio, in that house. Took my son to Naxos, baptized him there.
Awesome.
Had like 20 of my family members there. It was such an enjoyable moment, such a awesome opportunity for like having family members who have never seen Greece. My dad, born, raised there, lived in Athens, but hadn't really seen any Greek islands, right?
Right.
They didn't have the money to go see those islands. They came back, and he came to America to have a better life. And so having the opportunity to take him there and watch my son be baptized with his name was really cool.
Awesome. So in Greece, obviously there's no Cava. What are you eating when you get to Greece? What are your go-tos?
I was kind of bashing gyros earlier, but the first thing I'm eating is a gyro in Greece, 100%, right? If I could get that same gyro that you have in Greece in the United States, I'd probably be eating it more often also. But for me, it's gyro, and then souvlaki, of course, and they're probably all at the same time anyways.
So how do you like your pita? Like, give me the combo.
So me, I'm simple, I like it with everything on it. I love the tzatziki. Like, There are
Pork or
moments.
chicken?
What's that? Oh, always pork.
Pork.
Always pork. I'm sorry. I don't even count. I don't even consider the chicken for me. So
Yeah.
we have this debate with our friends all the time, right? Chicken or pork, right? I'm always pork, right? I feel like it's just so good. It's something so different that you really
Mhm.
can't get it. Not to say I've had bad chicken, but it's just it's something that you rarely get to have here in the States. So like having it there, I have as many as I possibly can before I leave, when I get there, and while I'm there the whole time. So
So is Greece for you just vacation, or can you consider yourself maybe potentially opening something there?
so we always get the question of like where we're gonna open next, and like there's two places that I love to vacation in, and one of them is Greece, and the other one is Miami. And people always say, "When are you gonna open in Miami? When are you gonna open in Greece?" And I was like, I do not want my work where I go to vacation, right?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I love being able to just like go to Greece and like it's not like I don't think about work. I still work from there and do that stuff, but it's just nice having that special place that we go to, and just not having that as on your mind. It gives you a chance to like refresh and re-energize and kind of get back to your roots, and really we learn a lot while we're there, right? We got to visit our farms and watch the olive oil being produced, and seeing how olives grow and the difference between Koroneki and Calamon, and learn all that stuff. And we see different foods that inspire us as we work with the culinary teams to create new items. So there's a little bit of work already involved in that. The last thing we need is to also run stores there too. So
Right. 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 I guess yeah.
you never know.
Keep the division work
Yeah,
and
yeah.
vacation.
But you never know, right? I never say never. You never know
Never
what's
say
gonna happen.
never.
So.
Home villages aside, I know you said you've gone to Naxos. Where do you love visiting the most in Greece?
My favorite, I'll separate it into two answers. My favorite island to visit has always been Paro. I love visiting Paro. It's beautiful. It kind of mixes in the cosmopolitan of Mykonos and Santorini
Exactly.
with a little bit of the rusticness of still having traditional Greek villages there, Lefkes, and up in the mountains that you can really still experience true Greece.
Right.
And then on the mainland, I love getting down to Peloponneso. I love Nafplio and that whole area. It has that kind of cool like Venetian charm, old city, with the walls, and it's a special place for us. And it's only like an hour from my dad's village, so we love hitting those two spots up.
Amazing. So, a couple other things I ask everyone about when we talk about the Greece part. I want to know your three favorite Greek pastries or desserts.
Wow. So I'm not gonna put them in any order because I think the order changes depending on like what I've had last.
Yeah.
But Bugata is definitely one of them for me. Loukoumades is I'm a huge fan of Loukoumades, and that's one of the reasons we actually love going to Paro too. There's this cool little spot right in the little alleyways there, and they make them and top them with like Nutella and white chocolate and different kinds of obviously cinnamon and honey is a traditional one. And my third one is something it's they make it in different parts of Greece, but it's also Cypriot. It's mostly Cypriot. Is ekmek. I don't know if you've ever had it. It's
I
like
think so.
it's really cool. It's like
I gotta
it's
try it.
kind of like yeah, it's really nice. It's kind of like cream covered with like kataifi kind of bottom, like
Okay.
it's kind of a blend of like kataifi and like galakaburico, and so like it's kind of like a two-in-one, and it's obviously got some a little bit of like Turkish influence, knowing that it comes from Cyprus. So it's a very, very different dessert. My mom makes it. I've yet to find one as good as my mom's. Like most people will say that, right? I gotta say that in case she's watching anyway. So.
Of course. You answered two, I believe, of your food. So I guess Gyro and souvlaki are two of the three.
Yeah.
You want to give me one more?
Yeah. I mean, for me, like being able to have those because they're so hard to find here. But I love so many, obviously, like Greek foods whenever we do get there. I mean, like there's the traditional stuff that I love, like keftedes and like, but I really love something that and I don't get back to Santorini too much. To me, it's become so touristy. It's really hard to like go in there and like and relax and enjoy myself. But I love the tomato keftedes there. They're, obviously they have that kind of volcanic soil there, and their tomatoes are special. But anywhere I have tomato fritters in English, I love them. They're one of my favorite things that I have there. Um, I don't know. I don't know if I could pick three favorites. I think for me, if I was gonna have one last Greek meal, it would be macaroni with queima. I mean,
Yeah, that's always the go-to. That's always the go-to.
I never ordered. Yeah, go
Every
ahead.
time I would go like to Greece, if it's travel day and I'm leaving my mom's, that day she's cooking macaroni with queima.
Yeah,
It's like I'm flying out that day, she's making me macaroni with queima.
And it's something that you don't really like order in the restaurants, like because you go to so many different kinds of restaurants and like you don't think because you think of that as like a home cooked meal, like
Yeah.
something like so traditional. But like I remember last year we went to a restaurant and we had been in Greece for a while and I was like, they had it on there and I was like, I'm just gonna get it. And it was like so good. And I was like, I'll take one. Well, I'll take a second one, take it home with me. Like it's one of my favorite meals. I love it. And it's so different than like the Italian bolognese or different spaghetti and meat sauce here in the States. It's so special in its flavors with nutmeg and cinnamon. It really stands out. So I think that's probably my favorite.
So those watching the video edition of this podcast are probably curious by now, what's the view behind you?
The view behind me is actually a picture I took in Santorini.
Okay.
So it was we were walking somewhere, I forget where exactly, and we just saw this like beautiful home and kind of snuck on their property and was able to snap a really awesome photo of it.
Yeah,
So
it's a beautiful view.
Yeah, and my wife actually got on a second version. She got on that ledge over there. There's not a steep like death fall, so it wasn't a big thing like, but it looks like there is. So it was a great photo that actually I have blown up in my office. It's really cool. So
that's awesome.
I mean, it's Greece helps everyone look like a photographer, right? You just point and shoot.
You just point your camera and shoot.
Yeah.
That's how I get by. Everyone thinks I'm taking professional photos. I just use a phone and I'm just running around.
Yeah. Well, your photos are great. So don't tell yourself a story. Yeah.
All right. So before we go, just what's next for Cava? I know you mentioned you got a lot of stores coming this year, but you also touched on something I wanted to bring up earlier was Melina. And is that new?
Yeah, so Melina just opened. We had a great review in the Washington Post, which is the big newspaper here in DC, and the big food critic here named it his top 7 places to eat, which is actually quite amazing because when you think about city restaurants like in DC, we're actually about 30 minutes outside of DC, and we're in a suburb of Maryland. So it's usually really difficult for restaurants to get on those lists because there's so many great restaurants in the city, but
right.
We really built a beautiful restaurant, and Melina was named after Chef Dimitri's daughter. And the whole idea was that growing up Greek, obviously I grew up having my father set, at working hard as like a great role model for that. But, it's like the Big Fat Greek Wedding where like I think it's like what is it, the dad is the head but the mother's the neck, right? And so like we wanted to pay homage to the women in our lives, our mothers who worked so hard. My mom worked and raised us, always had dinner on the table. And so like we have a drink named after Bubulina, which is the first female admiral of the Greek Navy. We have on our wine list we have 5 or 6 female winemakers, all Greek. Which is really cool to find. We really put dishes on very vegetable forward, and we just got really creative with Greek modern cooking. It's not, you're not gonna have pastries or moussaka there. It's very, very different restaurant. We use all the ingredients, no waste. We bought beautiful olive trees, koroneki olive trees inside. We used a lot of like rope to represent the fishermen of Greece, and stone, marble to represent obviously like the Parthenon, and natural elements of Greece. So we really put a lot of thought into like what Greece represented for us, what childhood, being raised in a Greek childhood as with Greek parents meant to us, and we kind of put all that into one restaurant, and it really shines bright and really puts a focus on Greek culture and food and heritage, and especially on everything our parents and especially our mothers sacrificed to leave their countries and come here and raise us. Wasn't easy.
Sure, definitely. So I have one question left, but before I get to that question, I just want to say all this philosophy of the way you approach things, it seems to rub off on everyone that works at Cava, because I have a pretty neat story.
Yeah.
One of the times I walked into Cava, I don't know if it was, I can't remember the time of day. It was definitely evening. I had got up all super excited. I mean, the guy didn't realize the excitement, but I just was hungry. It wasn't excited. I was hungry. So I'm ordering food and I'm going to pay. And the guy just looks at me and just goes, what did he say to me? Do something nice for someone else. And I'm like, for sure. Yeah, definitely. What do you mean? He goes, and he just handed me the bag, go do something nice for someone else. And I was like, that's really cool. And it just stuck with me. Like I'll never forget the way the face he had on when he said that. It was really neat.
We empower our team members, like I said, to make people's days, to make a difference in people's lives. And it's one of our values, generosity. And so we give them that authority to make those kinds of decisions. When you empower people, you trust in them, and
for sure
they return that to you, right? And they, like I say to the team members all the time, like, I can't be in every store.
Right.
How can I serve all these people? We serve thousands of people. It's like we're getting to the point where it's be like McDonald's, over 1 million served every day, right? And it's like, and so like these team members are the tip of the spear. They're the ones who will decide whether Cava will grow or not, whether they will grow, whether we will have 165 stores. I tell the story all the time. Chipotle has 2,500 stores, 3,000 stores. We have 165. We're babies. We haven't even started yet. And so think about the opportunity for anyone working at Cava, right? Even if today you're a team member, if you multiply this out into times 10, times 20, like, think about the growth and opportunity you can have. And so there's nothing more powerful than controlling your own destiny. And so, making people happy will always create fanatics, and you'll go tell that story 100 times. Right.
People, whether I was Greek or not, it hit me I want to come back here and support this place.
Yeah. People will have a bad experience and tell that story 1,000 times. People will have a good experience, usually tell that story way less than people have a bad experience. And you think about it and you catch yourself doing that. You're like, oh man, I went to this place the other day and like it sucked. And like it's the first thing that comes out of people's mouths. And so it's hard to get stories. If you just go to Cava and you get your everyday treatment, or any restaurant you go to, you probably don't really repeat that story. So like having a moment like that is special and helps create Cava fanatics. And so it's great.
Fanatic right here.
Yeah, that's great. And if people call that out, and we always take care of those team members and find a way to reward them for those actions. Of course, so many go unnoticed every day, but in the growth of the company, that it's happening. And so I'm really proud of that. So glad you were able to experience that.
Yeah, for sure. Last question. What does being Greek mean to you?
Wow. I mean, to me, it means everything. Like, for me to round up 20 family members and, go through COVID tests here and COVID tests there. We were there this summer, and take my son to a Greek island and book multiple homes and boat rides and cars. I mean, I felt like a travel agent for half the year, like, because it was so important to me. I was baptized in Greece also, so it was very important for my son to have that connection. I think it has values in it that, for me, guided me my whole life. I think of Greeks as hardworking. I think of them being generous. I think, the word hospitality and Greek people are synonymous with each other. I think you visit Greece and you see it in the people. Like I always tell people, like, you're going to go there and you're going to experience something very different, right? They're going to treat you like you're part of the family. Like, they feel bad charging you for things, right? They feel bad. Like, you eat at a restaurant and then they feed you a whole meal and they're like, oh, we feel bad charging you. Here's some free food. Here's some free drinks. Stay longer. Don't leave, you know? And so, like, all those things are a part of the Cava brand. I mean, those are like the pillars. So being Greek is like, represents everything that Cava is. And really is a guiding light for what we want it to be, right? And so anytime we run into issues or problems as we grow, and like, we always kind of lean back on our culture to really guide us. So it's everything to me. I can't say enough about it and enough good things about it. When people asked me like, why don't you go anywhere else every summer? I was like, there's nowhere else to go. Like,
Definitely. Yeah, no, there's not. There's not.
there's hundreds of islands.
Yeah.
If I want to go somewhere different, I can go to northern Greece, southern Greece. There's different parts that I can see,
Yeah.
but it's the people I go for. You know, it's
Yeah.
beautiful, of course, but you really go for the people, and I really really enjoy that. So
Amazing. I know I said last question, but I lied. There's one
it's all
last
right.
one that I skipped. It's actually one of my favorite ones, and it's similar to what I asked you earlier. What inspires you to do what you do? But I want to know who or what inspires your work ethic.
That's it's both my parents, of course, and my dad. I saw him leave the house at 5 a.m. every day and come home at 8 p.m. sometimes, and that was every single day. And even today, he's my dad is 70 years old and he's still working. He won't retire, and like he doesn't own his own company. He's not like some big contractor. He's a maintenance man at Georgetown University. He's a simple person and just busts his ass and works hard. He doesn't really buy himself new cars. He finds old ones and fixes them up. And that's really inspiring to see like someone work that hard and like give everything to their kids, right?
Yeah.
Buy his kids new cars as he drives like old beaters, right? And so like it's really really inspiring to see that. And then of course my mom, who was a waitress and worked that job and was able to make dinner every night and clean the house. We didn't have maids growing up or nannies, and raised 4 kids. I have 1 kid and I'm ready to give up here. And I was like, how did she do it with 4 kids? And it's just like super impressive. I mean, it's hard to give up when you see what they're doing. Like, how do you face them and say I gave up, right? There's no way to give up, right? You have to keep going. So they really really truly inspire me, and I can't say enough about them. And anytime anyone asks, they're 2 of my most important parts of my life, and how I got here today. And so I think they'll always be that. So
Awesome. Yeah, that's everything I got for you. For the listeners listening, if you guys have a Cava in the area, definitely check it out. What's the website, just so people can learn more about Cava?
It's actually simple, cava.com. So cava.com.
And on all social media, it's at Cava.
It's at Cava, at Cava. Yep. It's it took us a while to get that.
OG usernames.
They were tough to get in the beginning, but we over 15 years ago we got some of those. So it paid off in the long run. So thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. And like, I got to tell you, for a long stretch of time, I didn't get to go to Greece because we were building this brand, and it was a long stretch. It was over 10 years. And when we finally got to go back, it was truly amazing. And we go back almost every year now. And we missed obviously the COVID year. So it was amazing to be able to see it through your lens and follow along. So it kept our spirits up. And as we look forward to the following year, and we did get back, you inspired me to get back. I said, I'm going no matter what. I don't care what they say next year. So thank you for that.
Perfect. Ted, thank you for coming on. And thank you guys for listening to this episode of Grease Chats. I'll have all the links, the ones that we just basically said, and any information we have for Cava will put in the show notes. Teddy, thanks for coming on. And
Thanks,
keep doing what you're doing. It's really inspiring.
Thank you. I truly appreciate it.
We'll talk to you guys again soon.